So in today's quick tutorial, I'll show you guys how you can install the new Hermes desktop app. So one of the first things you need to do is, of course, go to the Hermes website and download whatever it is for your device. So for me, of course, it's going to be Windows. Then once you click download, you're going to see that this is basically going to install. Now, for the installation, you have to understand that it is going to take a little bit of time because it is essentially doing a complete install of the Hermes agent on your device. And that will essentially install absolutely everything you need. So I would just leave your computer for the next maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Some people are wondering, does this replace my current Hermes installation? What happens to the old one? Don't worry about that. Even if you install this and you've already got Hermes already installed, it will be fine on your system because it essentially just merges with whatever you already have installed. News research have essentially ensured that this is going to be a smooth install. So now once that is installed, of course, you can boot up the News Research Hermes agent. And let's actually show you guys how you can get started because some people may be confused with how to actually get started with this AI agent. So now here you can see I've got this Hermes agent installed. And this is what I would like to say to you guys. When you start out, it is going to be pretty blank. So make sure you go up to the settings. And this is where you're going to want to make a bunch of changes. For example, you already have your Hermes agent. Don't forget to go to the gateway. And this is where you can basically connect this desktop shell to a remote Hermes backend using its session token. Now, and so of course, right here, all you would need to do is paste in your session token and of course your remote URL. And then you would be able to just click save and reconnect, or you'd be able to save it for the next restart. Now then go down to here. This is where you have your API keys. So if you want to test out different APIs and different API keys, this right here is where you're going to be able to set those API keys. There are a numerous amount of different API keys that you can set and use here. And this is going to essentially not only allow your agents, but allow you to run Hermes agent for a variety of different applications. Here you can see for the messaging applications, you've got Discord, you've got Google, all of these different things here. And so this is essentially the areas that you would need to set first. I know some people might actually download the desktop app and try and talk with a model. There is nothing connected to this just yet. So make sure that first you at least set some LLM providers. I've actually set my DeepSeek one here so that when you actually come into the model, you can actually talk to the model straight away. Now, of course, one of the things you need to set is the model. So this is, if you're using this and you're just using one of the standard API keys provided, this is where you can, select the model that you're currently using. Of course, you can see I've got DeepSeek, V4 Pro. And then of course, you can see as well here, it gives you the option to have a bunch of different other models. So it's got vision, web extract, compression, all of these things right here. I've just set this to the main model. Of course, like I said, you can change this with the drop down selector here. But for the drop down selector right here, you need to make sure that you actually do have those API keys set, or of course, you're logged in with your other session token. Now, of course, your appearance, this is fairly simple. Of course, you can change it to dark mode, cyberpunk. It's pretty up to you how you want to use this. Most people will opt for that dark mode. And so this theme stuff right here, this is super basic. I won't gloss over this a lot because it's literally just a one click. Now, of course, for memory and context, of course, you always want to have the memory on and the user profile on. This is just going to enable you to have consistency between chats, which is, of course, very useful. Voice chat, this is of course where you have your API key selected. So if you'd like to talk to the model, this is where you go and change those things. I'm not sure most people would use this because of how users usually interact with, the standard Hermes agent. But I feel like this is of course an area that you need to be aware of. Now, once you've got all of those things set up, another thing that you need to go ahead and do is, of course, go and check out your Hermes agent itself. So what you can do is, of course, you can manage your profiles. So one of the things you have to know is that you essentially have different sole MDs for different things that you may want to use. So for me, I have many different uses for Hermes agent. I literally have like an investing Hermes agent, and I do have a sole MD. So what you can do is you can essentially import that sole MD there. And this is where you'd essentially change that. So you can literally click new profile here, and then I can put my investing agent here. And then of course I can click create profile, and this is just going to create cleanly. And so for here, this is where I can change all the ways that the agent is going to interact with me. And this is of course super duper useful because it means I don't need to go ahead and, import a bunch of different personalities. So now what we're going to do as well is we're going to take a look at the other area, which is super important for equipping your agent. So you'll notice that by default, it comes equipped with many different skills, okay? And a lot of these skills are ticked on by default, but you do have to understand that in order for these skills to work, you will have to ensure that you're running the correct model, because if you're not, a lot of times what will happen is it will print an error code. So for example, if I go to this one right here, so for example, if I say generate an image, I actually haven't linked up the image generation capabilities because I'm literally just having the DeepSeek model. And so here you can see, this is what happens when you don't have it set up properly. And so this is what happens when you don't have your API key set up properly. It's going to tell you that it isn't able to do that because it's going to go through the skills and then it's going to say, look, we haven't done that. But the good thing about this is that it will tell you exactly what you need when you're trying to generate it in that way, which is, of course, really, really useful. So like I said, the skills area is, of course, basically the area that I think most people should focus on, because this is going to be where you need to look at what your agent currently has. And of course, the different, skills that you can essentially equip your agent with. And sometimes, of course, your agent is going to be able to gain skills based on the self-evolving nature of the Hermes agent. Now, another thing that I do want to show you is, of course, the cron jobs. If you are running Hermes agent, traditionally, you would just ask it to do a cron. And then, of course, you can ask it to not visualize, but, bring up the list of crons. If you click the bottom left right here, you can see that if you just click cron, you can create different cron jobs. So, of course, right here, we can create our morning briefing. So this is super useful, summarize my emails, in the morning, whatever. But of course, deliver this at 9 a.m. or whatever time that you do want it to be. And this is just essentially a nice GUI over what the traditional Hermes agent does. So I can go ahead and create that cron now, and that is going to be there, which is useful for us. So for managing your crons, if you're wondering for your automations or your routines, this is just where that is right there, which is super useful. Once again, as well, you've got your agent tab right here, but of course you don't have any live sub agents. That's only if you're doing a task and there's going to be live sub agents that will be there. So that's depending on the complexity of the task that you do choose to do. So of course, I think this essentially covers everything bar one. For the last thing I want to show you guys is, of course, the messaging. And this is really, really useful because this allows you to quickly change how you interact with your Hermes agent. So you can essentially run a Hermes agent from absolutely anywhere. And this is one of the best things about the Hermes agent. So you'll be able to see every single app, chat app, email, Gmail, however, WhatsApp, however you want to interact with this agent, you will see every method here. And the good thing about this is that you can easily change your bot tokens, change your allowed, Telegram user IDs, go into Discord, have the bot tokens, add the Discord user IDs, and then of course you can set these things up. So this is something that I think is super useful. And of course, don't forget, for all of these, even if you do get confused on how you actually want to connect your Hermes agent, it is very simple because all you need to do is just click the open setup guide. You can see right here, Slack, it has all of these open setup guides. So you are very unlikely to be confused. The last thing I will show you guys, which is a little bit hidden, but it's pretty useful for those of you that are going to be running some heavy agentic workflows, is if you hit search and then you look at the usage down here, you're going to be able to see the amount of API calls you've done, your estimated API cost, and of course your daily tokens and the different skills that you have used. So with that being said, you can see here how much certain agents are going to call you, which I think of course is super useful for those of you that want to manage your token usage, considering most of us are going to be running Claude and that agent simply runs on too much tokens. So I think this goes to show that when you have a nice GUI over the Hermes agent, this is going to be something that can really, really enhance the ability for new users to use the platform. I think this is super useful. So if you guys enjoyed the video, I'll see you in the next.